Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 19.2A. I've entitled this video, The Rise of Ancient Egypt. This video is going to cover pages 588 to 589. Ancient Egypt. Egypt, in North Africa, was one of the earliest known civilizations. Egyptian civilization arose along the Nile River, and Egyptians depended on the Nile for their livelihood. They built cities, organized government, and invented a writing system to keep records and create literature. Question number 1. What was one of the earliest known civilizations in the world? The Egyptians. Question number 2. What river allowed the Egyptian civilization to flourish in ancient times? The Nile River. The rise of Egypt. People have been living along the banks of the Nile River for thousands of years. As many as 8,000 years ago, people settled in the area to farm. The rich floodwaters of the Nile allowed farmers to produce enough food to support a growing population. Over time, some members of this early society began to do other things besides farming. Some made pottery, others crafted jewelry, some became soldiers, a few became kings. Question number 3. How long ago were people settling in the Nile River area to farm? As much as 8,000 years ago. Question number 4. Why was the Nile River area a great place to farm and to live? Because the rich floodwaters made for great farmland. And when you have great farmland, you have lots of food. And when you have lots of food, people can survive. Question 5. Ancient Egyptians grew enough food to allow them to begin to do other things. What were some of the things they were able to do? Well, they were able to start doing things that didn't require focusing their energies all on food. So they could start making things, manufactured goods like pottery, jewelry. They started going to the military, become soldiers, and a couple were military leaders like kings. About 5,000 years ago, two kingdoms along the Nile were united into one. For most of the next 3,000 years, kings called pharaohs ruled the land. The great mass of people farmed the land. They paid a share of their crops to the government. The government's leaders also made them work on important projects or planned activities. These projects included building temples and other monuments. Sometimes the people had to fight in the pharaoh's armies. Question number 6. What were or who were the pharaohs? These were the kings of Egypt that ruled the land for a good portion of 3,000 years in the land of Egypt. Question 7. How did the people and the pharaohs create an agreement that allowed Egyptians to prosper? Well, the people paid a share of their crops to the government, you might call that a tax, and in return the government's leaders said that they would protect them and rule over them, and also the people agreed to work on projects or planned activities to make their society better, things like temples and pyramids and other monuments. The expansion of Egypt. For centuries, Egypt traded with nearby lands. Merchants carried Egyptian grain and other products to the south. There they traded for luxury goods like gold, ivory, and incense. They also traded to the east for wood from what is now Lebanon. Question number 8. What were some things that ancient Egyptians traded for? Gold, ivory, incense, wood. Around 1500 BC or before Christ, the Egyptians decided to expand their area. They took control of lands to the south that held gold and seized areas along the Red Sea that had myrrh, pictured in the bottom left. This plant substance gives off a pleasing scent. Priests burned it in religious ceremonies. Egypt also conquered the eastern shores of the Mediterranean. That gave them control of the timber there. Egypt's kings gained wealth by taxing conquered peoples. Question number 9. What did ancient Egyptians decide to do around 1500 BC or BCE, if you want to go before Common Era? They decided to expand their empire. So they took control of lands to the south, along the Red Sea, and they also conquered the lands east of the Mediterranean. Question number 10. What is myrrh? Myrrh, pictured in the bottom left there, is a plant substance that when you burn it, it smells very good. Oh, go back. Sorry about that. Question 11. How did Egypt continue to grow their wealth at that time in history? Well, what they did was when they conquered people, when they took over lands in other places, they then taxed them to acquire even more wealth. Now we're ready for the end of the video. I got ahead of myself there. Well, thank you again for watching. Before we go, I want to go to Egypt so I can be in denial. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.